What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below as it's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here today. The Biden administration has a couple major announcements, and Russian President Putin has declared victory, at least somewhat. Check this out.
Now to the latest in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin is ordering his forces not to storm the last Ukrainian stronghold in the besieged city of Mariupol and instead to continue blocking it so that not even a, quote, fly can fly through. Putin's orders come after the Russian defense minister told him this morning that the steel factory, where thousands of Ukrainian troops and civilians are holed up, was securely blocked by their forces. Putin also hailed control of the rest of Mariupol as a, quote, success. His comments also come just hours after Ukrainian officials said Moscow's forces have been relentlessly bombing the plant. They also say that Russian troops yesterday attacked a makeshift hospital near the factory, trapping hundreds of people under the rubble.
And President Zelensky is warning the situation in Mariupol is, quote, extremely severe, and said now he is open to a diplomatic solution to resolve the crisis there. Speaking at a news conference yesterday, Zelensky said Ukraine is ready to exchange Russian prisoners in return for civilians trapped in Mariupol. Zelensky said, quote, we are ready for any formats for exchange. I am ready for the dialogue. Zelensky also said Ukrainian fighters in Mariupol need serious and heavy weapons soon, urging the West not to delay any shipments. He said his forces do not have enough of these weapons and are unable to unblock, as he said, the Russian siege of the crucial seaside port without help from Western allies. Joining us now, NBC foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez. He is live for us again this morning from Lviv, Ukraine. Raf, good morning. What's the latest? Could there be some sort of a diplomatic exchange here between Ukraine and Russia to ease the situation in Mariupol?
Willie, it's not looking likely. Vladimir Putin, appearing with his defense minister this morning, says his forces have successfully, quote, liberated Mariupol. Now, that is one way to describe what they have done in that city. As you said, Putin says he no longer sees any need to storm that steel plant where Ukrainian forces are holed up. Instead, he's content to just maintain the siege as his troops go about asserting their domination over the rest of Mariupol. Now, there are two ways to look at this. You could see this as a sign of Russian success, that they have so comprehensively surrounded those remaining Ukrainian troops that they're really no longer any threat to Russia's grip on the city. That's one way of looking at it. But another is that this is an admission by Vladimir Putin that he is unable to take that factory by force, or at least unable to take that factory by force without losing an enormous number of his troops. So instead, he is going to keep his men around the perimeter of that plant for as long as it takes to starve these very determined Ukrainian troops out. Reminder, these are troops that he needs elsewhere on that enormous 300-mile front where he is fighting in the east of the country. Now, Willie, you and I have marveled day after day after day at the bravery of these Ukrainian fighters who seem prepared to fight to the death rather than laying down their arms and survive. But when you look at what happened in Bucha, when you look at what happened in Borodyanka, you can understand why these Ukrainian troops and the civilians with them are very worried about what might happen to them if they do indeed surrender, if they do go into Russian custody. And just underscoring this, an advisor to the mayor of Mariupol saying this morning they have discovered a mass grave in a village to the west of the city. Now, NBC News has not independently confirmed that, but if it is the case, it is perhaps a precursor of the horrors that we may yet to see after these weeks and weeks of siege in Mariupol. Now, the Ukrainian government, from President Zelensky on down, is saying they are prepared to negotiate about the situation in Mariupol. They will send negotiators to that city today without any preconditions to meet their Russian counterparts and try to come up with a way to get both those fighters and the civilians out of the steel plant. Willie, right now we are seeing no appetite at all from the Kremlin for any kind of talks. They seem prepared to accept nothing less than unconditional surrender.
Yeah, so Russian President Putin claims victory in Mariupol here today, despite the steel mill holdouts. And it literally seems like Putin will stop at nothing and is just going to continue this on here for quite a while, which means that inflation, the price of gas, the price of food, because remember that Ukraine and Russia are major producers of a lot of different food sources here for the world, which means that a lot of food prices will remain elevated. Oil and gas will remain elevated for a long time. So the longer this goes on, and of course the also threat of World War III as well looms. Literally just yesterday, Russia, this is here from Reuters, Russia tests nuclear capable missile that Putin calls the world's best. So just yesterday here, you can actually see the missile here from an actual picture of it. Yeah, so there's a lot of different threats from this whole war, and of course, the United States is kind of intertwined with a lot of this, as well as Europe and the whole world. The whole world, yeah. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. The Biden administration announces a new stimulus type program to announce or to erase student debt of more than 40,000 borrowers. And I got a couple different things here, more to come here. Check this out. Let me zoom this in here. This is directly from Yahoo Finance, as you can see here. The Biden administration continued its student loan cancellation effort on Tuesday by announcing that 40,000 borrowers would see their student loans become eligible for discharge under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and 3.6 million more would move closer towards forgiveness. Wow. So think about that. 3.6 million people would move closer towards forgiveness. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But 40,000 people would see their student loans become eligible for discharge or student loan forgiveness or cancellation, and 3.6 million people would move closer. The Education Department will give borrowers retroactive credit for forbearance steering. I know some of this lingo is kind of, you need a law degree to figure it out, right? Where student loan servicers have pushed borrowers into unnecessary interest accruing forbearance. In another move that could help many other borrowers, the department will take greater care to accurately track monthly payments for borrowers on income-driven repayment, which allows people who make less money to make smaller payments. Remember that over 40 million adults have student loans. So it's a lot of people. It's about 1 in 6 adults. The two moves brings millions of borrowers closer to forgiveness on government repayment programs. Quote, student loans were never meant to be a life sentence, but it's clearly, clearly felt that way for borrowers locked out of debt relief they're eligible for, says U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona in a press release. We wanted to act as quickly as possible to address these problems, but we expect these figures to only grow as we continue to analyze and implement these solutions. Quote, we were very focused on trying to improve income-driven repayment plans, and our hope was that the Obama administration, that income-driven repayment would help address the student debt crisis. But the reality is it hasn't. A recent investigation by NPR revealed how over the years, loan servicers struggled to implement income-driven repayment and ended up systematically mismanaging the portfolio. Some providers were not clearly tracking the payments and did not know when borrowers qualified for forgiveness. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this here this year and in the future. You can also see here that the White House says it will extend a student loan pause again before August 31st, or finalize a plan by then on canceling a student loan debt, potentially maybe for everybody. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says not having repayments can help people deal with inflation. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said on Thursday, offered a preview for the Biden administration's next step with student debt following President Joe Biden's move earlier this month to extend the pause for federal student loan payments, which now goes until August 31st. And they said, so between now and August 31st, it's either going to be extended or we're going to make a decision, as Ron referenced, about canceling student loan debt for even more people. Biden has long supported broad student loan debt cancellation of up to $10,000 per borrower. Psaki stressed that the president's preference is for Congress to pass legislation that would cancel $10,000 in student debt per person, since that would be more permanent than an executive action that might be overturned in the future by courts or by a Republican president. But executive action to cancel some level of student debt is still on the table, according to White House spokeswoman. Senator Bernie Sanders has also recently advocated for canceling all medical debt in the United States and canceling other types of debt here as well. Could also follow, like canceling IRS tax debt and canceling credit card debt and other types of debt that potentially. So, when or if this happens, for student loan debt, we could see other types of debt cancellation here in the future, like medical debt, tax lien debt, credit card debt, or other types of debt for people who don't qualify for the student loan debt cancellation. This is a possibility. And remember, people used to think that student loan debt cancellation was not a possibility either. And last year alone, there was $11.5 billion in student loan forgiveness, as you can see directly from Forbes right here. This did actually happen last year. There's already been billions of dollars more here this year. And I just showed you the article from Yahoo that said the Biden administration is now going to erase student loan debt for more than 40,000 people, and they're going to make it closer, or they're going to make it more possible for up to 3.6 million people here this year as well, which is a lot of money, or it could be a lot of money. But again, last year there was $11.5 billion in student loan forgiveness, mostly for people with permanent disabilities, people where their school closed on them permanently and just left them out to dry, people in the public service student loan forgiveness program, and I'm trying to remember, there was maybe a couple other qualifications like that. If you think you might be eligible for anything like that, the best way to do this is to go to Google, type in student loan forgiveness, as you can see here, scroll down past all this other stuff, and just go to the studentaid.gov, the first one here. You can see it's the .gov. Go directly to that one, and you'll see it. It says an official government website here. It says in certain situations, you can have your federal student loans forgiven, canceled, or discharged. Learn more about the types of forgiveness and whether you qualify due to your job and other circumstances. This is why I like to show you guys this stuff. A lot of people don't even believe this stuff exists or believe it can happen. That's why I like to show you guys this on the screen. I always show you guys this stuff so you actually believe this happened. You know, some people don't believe that state stimulus checks are happening. That's why I show it to you guys on the screen. Some people don't believe that, a forced stimulus check can happen. That's why I show it to you on the screen. I'll actually get to that here in a second. Let me finish with this. But if you think you might qualify for student loan forgiveness, again, go to this government website and you can kind of peruse through here. It might take you some time because you have to you know, figure out how to go through this and stuff, and you might have to go down the rabbit hole. But we're relating to a federal stimulus check here. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, leader of the Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives, she's been the leader of the Democrats really for the kind of the longest period of time, longer than any president because presidents only get to serve 4 to 8 year terms. Nancy Pelosi's been there for 30 some years. She recently said in an interview that I played for you guys here on the channel. If you've been watching the channel religiously, you kind of know that. She said that she would rather see rebate cards or direct payments, aka checks, sent out directly to Americans, aka a stimulus check, because of the high price of inflation, the high price of gas, the high price of food, because food is actually at an all-time high as well in the US and globally, as opposed to pausing the federal gas tax. That is an option. She said that she would prefer not to do that because the gas companies would actually benefit from that. By the way, this was right before Nancy Pelosi went out for testing positive for the virus. She actually just tested negative here right before the Easter break. So she is back now. So for anybody wondering, she didn't die or anything like that. So she has tested negative here, as you can see. So yes, she is apparently going to be okay. So this is kind of the most recent article I could find. This was actually as of 10 days ago. So I didn't really see anything more recent as of this. But Nancy Pelosi has tested negative now for the virus and set to exit isolation. So she seems to be okay. She seems to be okay for this. But knowing Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they could just really go for a $1,400 to $2,000 stimulus check again. We have seen several large stimulus checks here from Democratic governors, like the $2,000 stimulus check from Pennsylvania. As you can kind of see here, right here on the screen, we have the Pennsylvania governor pushing for $2,000 stimulus checks here for the entire state of Pennsylvania. If you make under $80,000, which is basically about the same income limits of the last stimulus check, saying, quote, Pennsylvanians should not have to choose between paying for utilities or groceries, childcare, or gas. We have the opportunity and the means to ensure they're not struggling to ensure for their success. And actually, the Alaska stimulus checks that has been approved in the Alaska House of Representatives, the Alaska governor is actually a Republican. I just looked it up here. Yeah, you can see here the Alaska governor is Mike Dunleavy. He's actually a Republican, and the Alaska state is proposing $2,600 payments. So we are getting checks proposed from a variety of Democratic and Republican states and legislatures. So it really could go either way, depending on your state. And we also have it coming from on the federal level. On the federal level as well. We know that Nancy Pelosi and the President Joe Biden, their last stimulus check was $1,400. And with it being a major election year, not for the president, but for Nancy Pelosi, for the Democrats in the House and the Senate, they don't want to lose election. It is very, very possible. They have been talking about it a lot here recently. We do have two major bills that was just introduced here from Democratic Representative Josh Harder in the House of Representatives. He actually introduced a $500 federal gas relief check per person, which for married couples would be $1,000 in the House of Representatives. So this was introduced here for everybody. This is on the federal level, $500 per person, $1,000 for married couples. And then we also have, you can see here, Democrats pushing for $300 a month stimulus checks to help out Americans struggling to pay for sky high gas prices as gas soars past $6 a gallon in LA. Yeah, my sincere sympathy if you live in LA. I know that gas prices are insane over there. Insane over there. So, yeah, we also have, it says in the subheading here, Democrats in California proposing $400 checks in the state of California. $400 if you own a car, $800 if you're a married couple and you have two cars. It's just one of the states. But we do have federal gas checks or stimulus checks. It really just depends on what you want to call them. And we also have a plethora of states here. I just did a really big video on that with a lot more details. You can click here in a moment. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to subscribe. You don't want to miss out on new videos. I'll keep you up to date here with everything you need to know about on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And this is the video which has a major stimulus check update for as many states as I could fit in one video, and the federal stimulus checks, more details on that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.